Hi everybody, my name is Peter Gifford and this is the Esoteric Order of Gamers. Welcome! Today we're going to get into some Dystopian Wars. Now I mentioned when I reviewed the Dystopian Wars 2-player starter set that just came out, Sturginium Skies, that I was a bit behind in my Dystopian Wars coverage. I really like this game. The models are just gorgeous, the rule set is great, and the theme is absolutely spot on. It's steampunk naval battles in a sort of alternative Victoriana world. Now I've got some lovely sets here from War Cradle Studios. They continue to send me stuff for Dystopian Wars, which I really appreciate it. Thank you over there at War Cradle. But these sets I haven't had a chance to show you yet, and the reason is I have to build them. And they take a little time to build. So I haven't had a chance to paint these yet, but they are all built. So you can see what comes in each set and perhaps have a little bit of a thought about what options you want to choose, because a lot of them can be built in different ways. So what are we going to look at, I hear you ask? Well, we've got the Enterprise Battlefleet set. This is for the Union, which is kind of the sort of basically the American forces. We've got the Black Wolf Battlefleet set. These are Commonwealth, which is kind of the Russian faction, but they're also a mercenary unit, so they can be played completely on their own or added, I presume, to other fleets if you pay them enough. And then finally we've got the Archimedes Battlefleet set. This is for the Enlightened and adds some lovely models to those fleets. So I'm building up some fantastic fleets for this game. I really love it. Let's have a look inside some of these boxes. And if you're only interested in some of these boxes, just go forward. I'm going to put bookmarks in the bottom here in the show notes so you can skip forward to the one that you're interested in. Now just before I get started, please subscribe if you haven't already. You may have just forgotten to subscribe even though you watch me all the time, or this may be the first time you've watched me. In any case, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe. And also there's a Dystopian Wars rules summary and reference. Well, I call them rules and references these days. That's on my website at orderofgamers.com, and you'll find all the basic rules for Dystopian Wars summarized on just one sheet, and also there's some reference sheets as well, and I think you'll find them extremely useful when you're playing this excellent tabletop miniatures game. Okay, let's get started. Okay then, let's get started with the Enterprise Battle set. Now, as I mentioned, this is for the Union, who are basically Americans after the Civil War. They've been scarred by the technologies they had to unleash to win victory, and they're very battle worn, but they also have a lot of technology on their side. And the feature of their fleets is definitely the paddle wheels, which gives it a very American feel. Some really lovely models. Now I've got the Enterprise Battlefleet set here, but I've also added to it with the Constitution Battlefleet, which is a smaller set. I'll show you those bits later, but they're all basically the same ships. But the feature ship of the Enterprise set is, of course, the Enterprise Heavy Carrier. And it is this beautiful big resin model here. Gorgeous thing. It's got 3 rocket batteries, heavy rocket batteries, and a heavy broadside. And of course, with ships like this, you can have your SRS tokens on the board, which are these kind of things. Your short-range squadrons, which are basically air support, and not always air support. The Enlightened have cybernetically altered whales. There you go. But they're usually planes and skimmers and things like that. But beautiful big carrier as the centerpiece to this set. Then you start getting into the choice. There's a lot of choice here. So if you look at the back of the box, you can see you've got 3 frontline cruisers and 3 support cruisers. Now these all basically use the same shell, whether a shorter or a longer shell, different types of guns, different types of things on them. So the frontline cruisers can be Yorktown, Lexicon, Intrepid or Reliant class, and the support cruiser can be Discovery, Roanoke, I think, California, Montgomery or Washington class. Now, as I've said before, this is the one problem I have with Dystopian Wars, is just the way that they differentiate between all these classes and how confusing it gets. Now, as I mentioned before, I've got an iPad set up here, and these are the forces that I actually have access to, and I've got it marked if I actually own the ships. And this is how I actually keep track of all the different variants of the ships. because it's very difficult to do from the back, just a little black and white picture. And even though now they're supplying the unit cards and the ORBAT, which is the order of battle, the sort of army lists basically, all of that together is now in one file after a sort of strange attempt where they tried to separate up every ship, which was just a pain in the neck. They put it all together in one file, but we still don't have good illustrations or clear illustrations on those to differentiate between the different types of ships. I really wish Warcradle would do this. Warcradle, please do this, or get me to do it. I'll do it for you. I've already made a start, and I think that if we had clear diagrams of each ship, it'd be really easy to work out what we want to build. Because as you can see in this set, for example, you've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, there's so many different variants. Anyway, how did I decide to build them? Well, as usual, I build the ones which I think look the coolest. If you want to get heavily into the list building stuff and work out exactly what you want points wise and everything, then you have to start getting into the lists and tunneling through all that information. But what I've done here is build 2 of these guys which have the double weapons on them. These are the Lexington heavy cruisers. Very nice indeed, and they have 2 heavy gun batteries on them and a broadside. And really, this is just kind of the biggest variant you have, because you've got the piece at the back here, and you've got 2 heavy gun batteries at the front. So it just looks really, really cool. But you know, as always, if you agree with your friend, you could put this model on the board and say it's a Yorktown, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be exact if your opponent agrees. Anyway, that's the Lexington, and I should say that's a gun battery on the back. So I've got 2 heavy gun batteries, a gun battery, and a broadside. And you can see the paddle wheel, kind of aesthetic, very nice looking model. Now there's a similar model to that, and that is the Intrepid light cruiser, and this one just has the single heavy gun battery on the front and a gun battery on the back, and of course a broadside. So if you compare those two, basically the only difference is that one has the 2 heavy guns on the front and the other one has a single one. And then finally, for my last ship, I built a Discovery Arc cruiser. This one's got a heavy electro cannon battery, a rocket battery, and a broadside. I think I put the wrong gun on there. This should be an electro cannon battery, so I'll change that. Luckily, I've just blue tacked these for the moment because I always magnetize all my weapons. So all these little weapons will have magnets in them, just so they move around and you can point them at the enemy when you fire them. You've got to do it. It's great. So wrong weapon there, that's a heavy gun battery. That should be an electro cannon. But you can see this has a different setup. It's got also a rocket battery coming out there. And this kind of shell makes all kinds of ones. This is the Discovery, the California, the Montgomery, the Washington, and they do all various things. The California and the Montgomery ships are like supply and support ships. So they have little cranes on them and things like that. And they can give various buffs to your fleet. So that was the main decision-making process, what I do with those 6 cruiser ships in this. So once I decided on those, then you've got pretty simple choices. These ones are the Farragut frigates. They have a gun battery and a light broadside, just a nice little ship. You get 6 of those. And then some lovely support craft. There's a Sentry rotor. You have 3 of these. This is the Akron Sentry rotor. It's got a rocket pod and a torpedo launcher. And of course these come on little bases like so, and they have clear bases on them as well, so they'll be flying up in the air like that. I haven't built these yet because I want to paint them first before I base them, of course, but these are flyers. These are Patriot RC-52 automata. They come with dual naval electro cannons and a rocket pod. And basically they're kind of like Japanese flying robot things with rotors on the top, aren't they? And these come with flying stands, so they can fly above the surface. And they give the fleet a whole different feel altogether, giant flying robots. So that's the Enterprise Battlefleet set. However, I also added a Constitution Battlefleet, which is in a smaller box, and that gives you more of the same, but of course you can build it in all those different configurations, and you get one large feature ship. Now the feature of the Constitution Battlefleet set is of course the Constitution Battleship. Lovely resin model. It's got 3 heavy gun batteries, a heavy broadside and a torpedo salvo, and what a gorgeous model it is. Look at those big paddle wheels on the side, lots of lovely detail in the resin. So that's the Union, and I've got some painting to do. As you can see, this is a beautiful big fleet, and it's going to be lovely when it's all painted up. Now I should point out that I have a way of storing all these. You know, you get the large sets, which are these big sets like this, and you get the smaller boxes. Well, I keep the larger boxes for each one of my fleets, and then I build an insert like this. And this insert has two pieces. It's got a little tray that goes in the top here like this, and that's where I keep the SRS tokens and extra stuff. And then down the bottom is this tray to which I've attached a piece of sheet steel, very thin sheet stainless steel, like that. And then, of course, all of these are magnetized, so they just pop in there and don't shake around, which is great. And that way I can store an entire fleet in one of the larger boxes. Okay, that's the Enterprise fleet. Let's get on to the next one. Righto, next up we have the Black Wolf Battlefleet set, and this is a group of mercenaries. They're Commonwealth Russian mercenaries. They are led by a famous mercenary, and he has got a submarine as his main ship. It's called the Deathbringer, and he's got this fantastic base. Now check out this resin thing. It's pretty amazing. Now this piece is separate, as you can see. This is the Anastasia, which is his mercenary base, and it's pretty stunning. You can also build it in a couple of other variants, and that's why we have all these extra pieces here, because these can go on the outside like that, and you have two of those, and then you have a central area which is open. So if I just build it quickly, you'll see this kind of thing like that. Yep, so it's sort of a croissant, really, isn't it? But anyway, I'm building it as the Anastasia, which is this beautiful figure here. So really looking forward to painting this up, because as you can see, what an amazing centerpiece that will be on a table. It's a mobile weapons platform. It's a dock. It's just a fantastic thing. It's like a huge mechanized island. Yeah, so gorgeous centerpiece to this Battlefleet set. It's really, really nice. Then we have the Deathbringer submarine. Here it is. And there are two of these, so you can build your other one as the Akula variant. And they have different weapons loadouts, of course. The Black Wolf mercenaries have a very nice sort of black and red color scheme. But of course, you could use all these ships for any Russian army. You don't have to paint them as the mercenaries, but if you do have them as a mercenary force, you can of course include them in other fleets, because they're hiring them as mercenaries. So a very flexible force here. Now you've got the cruisers, of course. Now if you're having the mercenaries, these are Katanga ones, the Cairo assault cruisers, which have a heavy prow ram, a rocket battery, and heavy gun batteries. I've already painted this one up for my other Commonwealth fleet, and this is the same type of ship. You've got 4 of these. Now, of course, you've got all the other bits in the set to make other variants, so you can make other cruiser variants for this if you wish. Lots of flexibility. You've also got 4 of these fantastic submarines. These ones are the Kaisak attack submarines. These have torpedo salvos, heavy torpedo salvos, and rocket batteries. Very nice. Then you've got some little submarines, 4 of these. These are Piranha hunter submarines. 4 of those little guys. And you also have some Stolotov ekranoplanes. Now, I noticed recently, well, actually I was told by someone on my YouTube channel, that this was an actual design for a plane. And they tried to build this thing. It's like a huge skimmer. It would skim along the surface of the water. And they actually built one. It was a huge thing. And it is currently just a hulking wreck off the Black Sea coast or something like that, or on the Black Sea coast. I think it's the Black Sea, I'm not sure. But yeah, there is one of these. Go and Google a chronoplane and you can go see it. It's amazing. So this thing's got a heavy rocket battery ×2, a rocket battery and a torpedo salvo. And actually, I should show you this one, because I painted this one up because I got some in another Battlefleet set. So that's what it looks like with my paint job. Very, very cool. You've also got some SRS tokens. You get 8 of them in this set. I've already painted one. And that's it. So a really, really nice set. As I said, very flexible. You can use it for your Commonwealth force, or you can use them as mercenaries in any other force. So definitely worth having. And what about that amazing stronghold, the Anastasia? I think that's pretty incredible and would look amazing on any tabletop. Dying to paint that up and get it on as a kind of sea surface. It'll look fantastic. Right then, let's get on to the last Battlefleet set, the Archimedes. And here it is, the Archimedes Battlefleet set, and this is for the Enlightened faction. And I do like the Enlightened. They're just a bunch of crazy scientists who went off and formed their own faction in the Antarctica, or Antarctic, or Arctic, up or down, I forget which. And they have some very, very distinctive ships, which have a really nice kind of getting a bit more into the sci-fi feel rather than the steampunk for the Enlightened. They're really, really nice. And this Battlefleet set has some very groovy stuff in it indeed. Let's start with, what do we start? Let's start with the main ship, shall we? Check this out. Fantastic. It's like, whoops, as always, I haven't stuck these weapons in yet. Just held in there with blue tack. Now, this is very Jules Verne meets sci-fi. Really, really cool thing. And the great thing about this is it comes in 3 different variations, and I've managed to magnetize all the bits so I can build all 3. So this is built as the Archimedes, which of course is the name of the Battlefleet. But with a few little adjustments with these pieces, we can take out these bits here, and you can see that I put little magnets on the bottom of each of these pieces, like that. And there's the base piece, like so. And then we can build the Nansen Explorer by putting this piece on the front, like that. Again, all magnetized, popped on like there. Make sure you line up your magnets so they all fit perfectly. That goes in the middle, and then we put on some really nice short-range squadrons in there. And then this piece goes on the back, and here we have a completely different ship. This is the Nansen. Wonderful stuff, very flexible. Then we can take these pieces off, and we put this dome piece in the middle like that, and put our original, that piece there, and that piece in the front, and we have another ship entirely. This is the Schneider Vault ship. So very cool, 3 different variations of amazing sci-fi cool ship. With a little bit of magnetizing. So buy yourself some rare earth magnets. When you buy them, be careful when you're just getting them from eBay, because sometimes you can get really cheap knockoff ones that aren't very strong. So make sure you're getting them from a quality supplier. You want to drill the little holes into the resin and then super glue them in, and make sure you get all your polarities right so they line up properly. Same with doing your weapons as well, of course. It's really good to have standard polarities worked out, so all of your interchangeable weapons will go in the right way. So that's our main ship, and then we have, of course, lots and lots of choice. Before we get into the choice, let me show you these. These guys, there's 2 of these, and these are the Ketos Myriapoda Colossus Automata. Whew, bit of a mouthful, but check them out. They're like huge insectoid things. Now, one thing I did with these is that the bases have a space for the base in the middle, and I found them that they looked very unbalanced if they just came out of the middle. So I actually covered that up with a little bit of green stuff and then put them further back on the base so they sort of look more comfortable on the base, and put a bit more green stuff just around the outside. Because it's foam as they're plunging up from the sea, you don't have to be too careful with that. And I think that looks better on the base rather than coming up from the middle. So they are super cool. Then you've got 3 different types of cruiser here, and as always you have different pieces so you can make all these different modifications. Now I'll have to refer to the back here because we've got an advanced cruiser which can be a Newton, Ximena, Vesalius or Origin class ship. These are they. I've built these as the Ximena capacitor ship and the Newton Void Engine cruiser. There we go. So different variations of pieces. The hulls are the same, but you can put on different bits on the top. to give these various battlefield roles. Then you've got support cruisers. There's 2 of these, and you can build these as Plinius, Tacitus, Claudius, or Quintilian class ships. I've built these ones as Plinius support carriers, and the reason I did that is because I don't have much in the way of support carrying for the SRS tokens that are in this set, so I needed some support carriers. So I've got 2 of those, but there's lots of different variations of those ones. And then we've got 2 more, which are the frontline cruisers, and these can be built as Stiletto, Lovelace, Copernicus, Antarctica, Chatelet, or Ulysses class ships. Phew! So many variations, it's unbelievable. These ones, just considering what I already have, I've built 2 Antarctica class. Great looking models. But again, this is where the confusion comes in. There's so many variations, and working out how those different variations match the builds is just the one bit of communication that Warcradle has to improve to make this game easier to build, because it took a bit of nutting out to work it all out. And as you can see, my page for the Enlightened on my iPad has all these different variations, and this is the only way I can keep track of them all. So you've also got some SRS tokens. There are several cybernetic whales here, these little guys. So there's an orca, and then the other, whatever they're called, SRS tokens, and then some normal flying SRS tokens as well. So you've got 6 of those. And also you've got some submarines. There are 2 different versions of submarine. They are the Praxilla and the Diogenes. And they just have different fronts. So you can see there that they have slightly different fronts. Apart from that, they're the same. And finally, you've got the Marian ships. And there's 2 different ways of building these as well. There's either the Marian, or you can build them as a Germain Zebek. Phew! And I built them as the Zebek because I already had a lot of Marians from the original starter set, Hunt for the Prometheus. So these ones have beam weapons on them. These are the ones that I've already painted that came with Hunt for the Prometheus. And you can see they're the Marian version, which have a pulse emitter on them instead. And just to give you an idea of my paint job, you can see this in another video, but this is how I paint up the Enlightened with these stripes. So I'll be doing the same for all these figures. Oh, and I forgot to mention there are these 2 cute little escort ships as well. That is an unbelievable amount of Dystopian Wars, I have to admit. Again, thanks to Warcradle for sending me all these figures. I've got some serious painting to do because I want to try all these out on the tabletop. Now, if you haven't played Dystopian Wars, I highly recommend that you check out my battle report because I think it's a pretty good example of how fun this game can be. If you like a slightly more meaty tabletop miniatures game, you're going to really enjoy this one. It's got a little bit of complexity, but it's really satisfying. These models all hit the table in units, and when one of them fires, the rest support them with their own weapons. And it's, once you get the hang of it, it's very easy to play and really, really enjoyable and super cinematic. There's just nothing like fleets of ships sailing around and attacking each other. And of course, you've got the short-range squadron planes as well, which affect the attack and defense of different ships. You've got submarines hiding under the surface. There's so much going on. It's absolutely super cool. Something I don't have, I think the Crown and probably some other factions have some giant robots as well, which just waist up are coming out of the water and trudging along the seabed. Brilliant. The theme is so cool. So, Dystopian Wars, there you go. Of course, there'll be more Dystopian Wars in the future, I hope. And when I get these painted up, I'll show them off as well. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Check out the website, orderofgamers.com, and check out my rules and reference there, which you can download and use for free. And of course, please subscribe to this channel and hit all my social media channels. I will see you there. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.